Hello, friend. Welcome to Almost Cancelled, everyone. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Mr. Robot, Season 3, Episode 9. It is called EPS 3.8 underscore stage 3 dot torrent. So, full spoilers.
Finally, a file extension that I recognise. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I don't know, if this is going 5 seasons, I'm scared to think of what Season 5's file names are going to be. Like, I've already not recognised
I already feel
most of
like
them.
they're scraping the barrel.
Season 1 was great. Season 1 was all video files, and I recognised like 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, they're all stuff I'd worked
Season
with.
2, I was like, I know maybe 3 of these.
I feel like it was less than 3 when we were going through it. But
Maybe. I mean, like, at best, clearly I'm being generous here.
we have one so far in Season 3 that I understand. everyone else, none, but at least this one. So we're going to talk about Mr. Robot. It's the penultimate episode of the season. Next week's the finale, which is scary stuff, because then there's a world without Mr. Robot.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to go another year.
A year and 3 months, more like.
Stop it.
It may actually be early 2019 before we get more.
Stop it. Don't tell me I have to go all of 2018 without it. That's just cruel.
We got other things, though, next year. I mean, for
We do,
example,
but-
we skipped all of 2017 with no Westworld, so at least we get some of that in 2018.
I know, but it's still cruel.
It's cruel. So we got our notes. We're going to work through scene by scene as we typically do, and we'll get into it. So, without further ado, we started the episode with a flashback to basically the first meeting between Allsafe and E-Corp. So we got to see Gideon again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
He's been dead for so long that it was weird to see him again. We got to see Colby again, also been a while. So we had Colby, Price, and Tyrell across the table, and Gideon's making his pitch as to why they should pick Allsafe as their internet security, as their PC security. And I forgot just how much of a dick Colby is. Like the entire time, he's just because Gideon, he's putting a good spin on things. He's like, oh yeah, we've got less clients, but that means we can give every client the utmost attention, unparalleled sort of response time, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Colby's just like, oh, that's just all hand jobs or something like I said. It was I expect that from all the people that we work with.
To be fair, that is classic small business sales pitch 101.
Oh, it absolutely is, but that doesn't mean you have to be a dick about it.
No, you don't.
Like, they have to start small at some point and work their way up. Like,
Yeah.
Point of chastising that, but he's been a complete prick. And Angela comes in to hand him some numbers. Young, pre-crazy.
Yes. Still whole.
Still whole. Probably still dating the douchebag from season 1. She comes in and hands him some numbers. And of course, Colby, being the dick that he is like, "Hey, Darlene, how about you fill my coffee cup up there?" And there's a moment of like hesitation where she's like, "I'm not a goddamn secretary, you asshole." But she's like, "No, okay, sure." And Gideon even feels bad. He's like, "Oh, hey, my assistant can get that, Angela. That's not your." He's like, "Oh, that's fine." But of course, the interesting thing in this scene, though, is the attention that is being paid to Angela by one Philip Price. The music as well is very kind of soft and kind of telling, and he's kind of just focused on her. Like, Colby's still being a dick towards Gideon, but he's just kind of watching Angela walk out. And what was really catching my eye here was that it didn't feel. This wasn't sexual. This wasn't, oh, young hottie. Yes.
No, definitely not. It was more sweet than that.
It was parental.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the reason why he's been so kind of interested in Angela this whole time is because he knows that he's really her father.
Maybe. I don't know. This is the only scene so far that would maybe tell me anything about that, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
To be fair, all of last season he seemed to take a vested interest in her moving up the company.
He did, but it never felt parental until this scene.
Okay. You think it's just more of a spark of I don't know. I see something in her. I want because it's very clear in the next scene when they're in the limo and Colby's like, "Oh, what was the point of that shit show? Why did we go there?" It's like, "Oh, of course we're not going to hire these idiots." And then Price is like, "We're hiring them. Drop the contracts immediately."
Yeah, I don't know if it's like that she's actually his daughter, or if it's more just that's the way he's looking at her. Like he can see like someone who can be a child to him, who can fill that role.
Well, do you think there's a reason for it? Do you think it's because it reminds him of someone that he did know?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Himself, maybe?
Yeah.
He's himself and Angela?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. I don't know, I was getting the vibes here of, oh, that's my illegitimate daughter that I've never met before, but I know it's her. I had that vibe
that's
the
the thing.
entire
I
scene.
got that in this scene, but like I said, I've never got that before this moment. So I'm a little conflicted on that.
I guess we'll see what else to do with it. It wouldn't shock me completely if they go down this path. Or at the very least, maybe he's just aware of who she is and that they killed her parents or her mother.
No, it could be.
And, it's more this kind of, does he actually have a sense of guilt compared to... Well, no, admittedly, I don't get guilt from him in any other scene in the show, so I don't take that as me reading into
No, but
things.
maybe he sees her and it feels guilty because it's like, oh, well, she's here, and, what would her life have been if I hadn't, interfered.
Yeah, maybe a small sliver of responsibility was sort of like sneaking through the cracks of his otherwise humanless humanless existence. So that's kind of a thing, but he kind of enforces, no, we're going to use Allsafe. Like, he's the one responsible for that. Even Tyrell, who at this point is obviously a couple of years before the show started, he's he's obviously relatively high up because he's on this meeting, but he's clearly green. He's clearly like trying to like impress the bosses and trying to like work his way up, and he tries to like question this, and Price just shoots him down. Like, you're not in my league. You don't get to question what I do. You don't get to question these decisions.
Yeah, he goes, oh, sorry if I've misled you and give you the impression that I wanted your counsel, but shut up.
And I thought the really neat thing as it went to the title screen is we went really low angle, and the E-Corp building was towering, was looming over Tyrell. It was a very intentional shot. Like, this is how small he is compared to these big shots. Is this giant building which looks huge next to him? I mean, it looks huge no matter where you frame it because it's a building, but like it was accented.
You look up at it and it looks small. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the opening.
I did think it was amusing how just last week I mentioned the Allsafe mouse pad that Elliot had, and then it was like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's Allsafe again. That was weird.
Yeah, Allsafe. It was a weird, nostalgic little scene. It was like, oh yeah, I remember season 1. This is
There's a few things in this episode that are like, hey, remember season 1?
Oh yeah, there's at least one on the big one. You're right. Yeah. So then when we go to Tyrell, we actually cut from Tyrell into sort of present day Tyrell, and he's coming home from the FBI. He's a free man because of all the events that have happened, and his lawyers inform him of he can't leave the country, blah 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 blah. And he comes in, and it's just a quiet moment. It's not a particularly long moment. It's just kind of this thing where he comes home and it's empty and no one's there. The crib's empty. He breaks down and cries. It's a very nicely done scene though. It's all one shot. It's just the camera just slowly tracking back.
Just kind of sits in the back corner for the last little bit of it and just watches him just crying.
Yeah, it just blows up the idea that he's coming back to this. Like, everything he's done, everything he's accomplished, everything he's put himself through, and he's come back to literally less than he had before. He has nothing. Yeah. It's empty. Yeah. Life is empty. That's what this has led him to. So then we go to Elliot, and he basically comes out of he's just been Mr. Robot. We have the distortion kind of noises to wake us up out of the scene, and he's standing in front of the mirror, and it's just written in the mirror. Mr. Robot's left him a message saying they own the FBI. Elliot questions for a second who is they, but he kind of quickly gets to like, oh, it must be the Dark Army. It has to be.
Yeah, it was like, well, there's only a couple of choices really.
Yeah, really simple. But he goes to his computer again. I feel like there's a lot of small scenes in this episode that are very just kind of plot heavy rather than having a lot to kind of dissect.
There are, yeah. It jumps back and forth as well a lot in this one.
Yeah, so he's just looking at a computer. What was Mr. Robot looking at? He was looking at Tyrell being released by the FBI. He was looking at...
And cleared of all charges.
Yeah, he was looking at the plans for various things. Of course, probably the key point here is he ponders, did he see the emails? The email was still up, the Trenton email. Yeah. And he ponders, did he see that? What does he think of that if he knows that that's something that he's trying to do now? Worth thinking about, certainly. And that's actually when we actually cut to Mr. Robot.
It's a great edit because what did Mr. Robot do last night?
And I think what's interesting to me about that is that we've never really done that. Every time at least from memory, whenever Elliot's wondered what Mr. Robot's been up to, what he's done, it's never just cut to Mr. Robot and shown us the story. Blatant, as point blank as this did.
I'm trying to remember. I feel like if it happened, it might have been a little bit in season 2, towards the end. Back half of season 2, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't remember it specifically.
Yeah, I feel like this was the least cryptic the show's ever been, with just flat out saying, no, here's what happened last night with Mr. Robot.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless, Darlene's following him or something like that, where we've got another POV, but in terms of just cutting to what he did, this felt like a new thing to me. So he goes to Tyrell. He's there to confront. That's what he did last night. And we actually cut to this as if it's going on concurrently with the rest of the episode, even though it's all clearly the night before. And he goes to Tyrell. He's there to confront Tyrell and be like, well, you dumbass, your stupid plan to blow up 71 buildings, and what has it got you? He's chastising him. He's there. He's in his face. I actually particularly laughed when Tyrell says he's lost everything, he has nothing left, and Mr. Robot says, well, I can't say it's all been smooth sailing.
my favourite line is when, I think Tyrell calls him like a child. He's like, no, you were the child. Grow up, there are no gods.
Yeah, that was a good line. Also, I really like the delivery of when Mr. Robot says that he's just a puppet for all these big important men, these big, powerful rich men, and Tyrell's response is like, no puppet, you're the puppet.
Yeah, it's that desperately trying to convince himself.
That's exactly what it is. He isn't part of that important 1%. When we started this show, he was presented to as he's part of these powerful 1%ers, and he's not. He always wanted to be. He feels like he should be, but he's not actually in their league. And most of this episode for his plot is basically him being told abundantly clear, no. You are not one of us.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you might dress like one of us and you think you're one of us, but you're not.
And you see in the flashback, he's not one of us. Present day, after everything that's happened, he's still not one of us. It's really that simple. Also, I did notice here that Tyrell doesn't even seem to bat an eyelash at the fact that because it's his plan to blow up 71 buildings. Like Mr. Robot, it's like, oh, was this your great plan to do this? I did just note that, and it doesn't really surprise me given that he murdered someone. Just, remember he murdered Thingy's wife in season 1.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me, but I do think it's worth reiterating here that he shows no remorse for that. He doesn't even have a moment where he questions.
No, he was just like, no, that was. He kind of turns it back and he goes, "Oh, it was your fault," kind of. It's like if you'd stuck to the plan.
But I just think that's interesting that even if he's going to be an ally or like an uneasy ally, even
he's definitely not sympathetic.
He's not sympathetic. No, he's someone who's a bit of a loose cannon. He's the wild card, I suppose, in a lot of ways. Which is saying something when Elliot's already a bit of a wild card himself. in a lot of ways. So he's been manipulated, he's been controlled, he has been a puppet, and he's got these delusions of grandeur, which he's always had. Again, that goes back to the whole gods thing. Like, we're gods. He has these delusions where he's more powerful than he actually is. And of course, he actually pulls out his gloves, which is a callback to, again, in season 1, where he beat up the homeless guy. He pulls out his gloves and he punches Mr. Robot. He's about to go to town on him when the door rings, and it's Price. Price is there, and he's kind of taken back. He's like, "Oh, come in, sir." And Price comes in. He sees Mr. Robot. Well, he sees Elliot, of course. He just sees But I thought that was interesting. Like, I can't remember how often we've had this, but it did stand out to me. Like Price just saying, "Oh, Mr. Alderson," when he's looking at Mr. Robot.
That's it. That's what made me laugh. He said Mr. Alpherson. Like he intentionally got his name wrong. Just be like, "Look, I'm better than you."
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice his name wrong.
Because I thought I misheard it at first, so I double checked, and no, he did say Mr. Alpherson. Cool.
So, and he's like, "Oh, you might as well join us. You were a part of this too." And obviously, we kind of knew this from his conversation with Zhang, both at the end of season 1 and definitely over the last couple of weeks, at Mar-a-Lago. But this idea that he knew the whole time that 9/5 was happening, at least to some extent, and he knew that it was like a ploy to like get this Congo deal moving. This was all part of their plan. Like the powerful men were kind of manipulating the whole thing for their own goals right from the start. This was never something that they didn't expect. But again, this episode, I feel like here him saying, "Oh, you're a part of this too," is like, okay, that's him just openly talking about that. That's him openly just kind of being honest. And obviously, there's more of that a little bit later, but. Just from this point here, like Mr. Robot's on the ground, and the idea of him just saying that point blank to him, you can tell that Robot's taken back by that. He's like, "Huh, I don't know how to respond to this."
So it's definitely different again. Like it's everything's out in the open now.
Yeah. So we actually go to F Society, the arcade.
Yeah, been a while.
It has been a while.
Like I said, a lot of season 1 throwbacks in this
Yeah.
episode.
So there's a subtle thing here. Where Angela was sitting, there was like two the neon lights behind her, the like, arrows pointing at her head. I thought that was might mean nothing. Maybe a complete coincidence. Might have just been nice framing. But
you mean Darlene, right?
what did I say?
Angela.
Oh, Darlene. Yeah, sorry, Darlene.
Yeah.
I meant
racking
Darlene.
my brain. I was like, I missed something.
Yeah, no, it's Darlene, and basically Elliot's just telling her about the email, Trenton. We can undo this. Maybe questioning why Romero had these encryption keys and all the rest of it. And Elliot's just like, oh well, because he predicted that it would go bad, which turned out to be right.
Do you know what I think was really interesting? He gives this speech about how things are coming full circle. It's all this symmetry, and I thought it was really interesting because that's the sort of thing you usually get at the end of a story. Whereas, like this is maybe more the middle. So is it like going to be another cycle, so to speak? So is this like the midpoint? Okay, we've done one cycle, now we've got a whole other one to go.
Which makes a lot of sense. If like Dark Army is going to be the new target, then it's kind of the start of the next revolution or hack or 5-9 or whatever you want to call it.
They've got to start from scratch. They've got to go after this corporation or entity again.
I mean, I don't think it really starts from scratch until the start of next season. I feel like the finale is going to throw some wrinkles into
probably
whatever Elliot's plan is right now. But yeah, so he's like, all right, so we need those encryption keys, which are in the FBI Sentinel. That's the name of the building, and he's like, I'm going to go in there. I'm goddamn Elliot. I'm a superhero. I'm a hacking superhero. And Darlene's like, no, you're going to get caught. It doesn't matter how good you are. Let me inform my contact. And that's when he informs her, like, no, Dark Army have people in the FBI. Like, they control that. And I almost went for a split second, like, does she actually want to go to Dom and get Dom's help properly? But then he says that, and it's like, okay, well,
yeah,
okay, I've got a different angle, and you obviously don't get what our plan is here, but I'm like, okay, she's going to use Dom in some capacity still because she has that in, but in what way here? So then, all the other thing I wrote down is, so does Elliot already have a plan for the Dark Army? Because he says to Darlene, I almost said Angela again, at the end of the scene, he's like, hey, you worry about the Sentinel getting in there, I'll worry about the Dark Army. Because obviously, damn it, I keep doing it.
What is going on with you today?
I don't know what it is. It's that last episode of Dark. It's got me all...
It's fried your brain, yeah. I was just going to say that as well.
I know who I mean. I just keep saying the wrong name. But Darlene's clearly worried because the Dark Army have shown themselves to be very capable of just taking people out, left, right, and center. But Elliot's got a plan. He's confident. He's like, let me worry about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other line I really note down that this is all we can do now is rebuild, and it's this idea of, again, we're at the start. We've just got to build up from scratch. We've just got to keep going.
Yeah. So we actually go to Irving. So it's actually all one shot. This scene, it's just the front of the car. He's trying to sell a car. He's taking it out for a test drive with a potential customer, and he's just using his salesmanship techniques on her. But Elliot hacks the car and makes it pull over and gets in, and Irving has to awkwardly tell the woman to leave. But he's basically like, yeah, I need to talk to White Rose about Phase 3. And I'm like, God damn it, Elliot, Phase 3, what are we doing?
Stage 3.
Stages. 3. Stage 3, Phase 3, whatever, it's the same goddamn thing.
Yeah, it is, but the name of the episode is Stage, isn't it?
I can't remember
what stages. I can't remember now.
It's Stage. It's Stage. Yeah. Okay, it's fine, it's Stage. Whatever, it's the same damn thing. And he's not very happy about this. He's like, well, but honestly, the thing I was taking from this, Elliot's making a bit of a power play, saying, hey, I've got Stage 3, I need to talk to White Rose. But the thing I was questioning here is, like, is he being in over his head again? We've seen how repeatedly in this show, our hackers, our F Society characters, they're in over our head. Things come back and bite them. They don't understand how powerful the people above them are. Is this Elliot actually finally outsmarted them, or is he in over his head again? I mean, I'm going to make a prediction and say it'll be a mix. I think he will outsmart them to an extent, but it will have consequences that are dire.
Yeah, I think he'll do something they don't expect, but at the same time, they're expecting him to do something, and they're playing that angle as well. So it'll go a bit both ways.
So we go to Dom and Darlene, who are at the bar. Same bar they met at before, I think. If it's not, it's just generic bar, so whatever.
It's a bar. It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
But Dom's in civvies, which was, I mean, not that an FBI suits that. It's not like a police uniform, but still, she's always been in the smart suit, right? So she's in she's in like a shirt here, a t-shirt here, and Darlene comes in and she tries to like pretend, oh, I've been hiding stuff for you. She basically says, oh yeah, White Rose was like behind a lot of stuff, like Dark Army were partners on 5-9, stuff that we've known for ages, stuff that she's suspected for ages.
Yeah, exactly.
But she tries to scan her badge. She's basically just killing time to try and scan her badge with the device in her bag. But it doesn't work. She goes to the bathroom, says, nope, couldn't detect anything. And she's like, shit. And then there's a harsh cut. There's actually a harsh cut in the bathroom, which feels a little bit jarring. It's just to like, show time is passing. She's in there thinking. And there's just this sort of sigh, like, okay. And she like takes off like her jacket to like expose her shoulders a little bit, and I'm like, oh god, she's going to try and seduce Dom.
Yeah, you know exactly where it's going.
Yeah, she's going to seduce Dom. And I got really excited because I thought, oh man, whether this succeeds or fails, this is going to be glorious. I don't know, like, is this going to be cringeworthy, embarrassing? Is this going to work? Is she going to actually seduce her like a, I don't know, like a pimp or whatever? Not pimps, but like whoever seduces people. A seductionist. A player.
How did you get pimp?
I don't know. Pimp. What do you call someone who's good at seducing people?
I don't know.
Exactly. So
it's not pimp though. I know that.
I put myself into a corner. I had to come up with a word, and I panicked. I said pimp, not pimp. Pimps don't have to seduce. It's kind of part of the job
the whole
description.
point, isn't it?
So she has that idea, but we cut away. We actually cut away. Angela's actually waiting outside of Elliot's apartment, and he comes up. And my first thing when I seen Angela was her hair looked a bit of a mess. She's got this coat on. I was like, she looks kind of like a crazy homeless person almost.
She just has this really vacant look.
Yeah, she's very very. I mean, I think before I've been calling her broken. Here I actually called her the conspiracy nut because she's talking about how things are going back to normal because she shows us the newspaper and it says Tyrell's going to be the CTO of E Corp, and I'm like, I'm going to guess we're going to learn about that in the price scene later, so I'll save that for now. But and I'm like, okay, interesting. She's like, I see things are starting to go back to the way they're supposed to be, and I was like, is she thinking like things are going to rewind gradually? It's like he's back in E Corp, so that's the first thing, and then there's going to be more things. And it makes me wonder actually if for the next little bit, if that kind of does happen to like make her think it is happening.
I mean, even to the extent of Elliot undoing 5-9.
Yeah. That's going to play into her like delusion here, yeah.
It is. It's not going to help.
She's paranoid. She thinks she's being watched. Like, we have to go inside. They're watching us, Elliot. I'll explain the plan to you. I'll explain what's happening once we get inside. So that's kind of that scene. It cuts back to Dom and Darlene. And Darlene is kind of playing her. She's kind of opening up. She's like sort of pretending, I really like kind of trust you. You're the only one I can trust. I've been insecure. I'm sorry that I lied to you while I was your informant. It's just all very this, but she lets her think that she wants to leave, and lets Dom invite her back. She's like, oh no, I'll get you a drink, Darlene. Sit down. You're not an informant anymore. We can be social. Kind of. She's playing her really well, and as soon as she sits back down, Darlene immediately starts talking about relationships. She's like, oh, you're single still. It just goes down that path, and it's all about making her feel a little bit lonely, so that she'll want to just go for it. Like that's the whole goal here. And of course I noted down a quote here that I had to. So Darlene's like, I can be a good wing woman. Let's look at these lovelies. Let's pick one out for you. And she says, what about that ginger?
I was waiting for this.
I was howling with laughter. I love that using the word ginger for a redhead is spreading across the world like a plague. It is beautiful. It is glorious.
It's one of these things that to us it's so normal, but seeing it on TV is still new.
It is very new. And then Darlene's like, and then... Oh, sorry. Dom's like, And then Darlene's response killed me. What, you're not into a fiery crotch? Hypocrite. And then Dom reveals that she's dyed her hair ginger, which it doesn't look dyed at all. She looks like a natural ginger, but I'll take it for the. I think she does. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, I mean, if it's a dye job, it's a good dye job because like when I think of bad ginger dye, I'm thinking Archie from like Riverdale, where it's just
Yeah,
clearly
yeah,
this
no, but this is
unnatural
more
color.
of a realistic ginger dye where it's more of
Yeah.
a just a light brown, like it's almost just with a reddish tint to it. Is what that's what Dom has going on.
No, when I think reddish, I actually think red. Like, I guess what I'm saying here, and take this offensive if you will, Connor, but I can't imagine why anyone would want to put their hair this color.
Not can I? I'll be honest. I mean, the amount of shit I've got over the years, I kind of look at you, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah. Before I was, I'm joking. All right. Some people like the ginger hair. Hell, I like it on many a woman. I'm not. I ain't judging. I just like making fun of Connor. That's all this is. But yeah, so we had some funny, and again they're bonding, they're having some banter, and Darlene's get us more drinks over here. We're going to need them, and it's just kind of like getting the night rolling. So we cut back to Elliot and Angela, who are getting into his place, and oh no, Leon's there. He's waiting on Elliot, and of course, I kind of quickly just this is because he went to Irving. He's there to take him, whatever.
He's the middleman. It's what we got with him with Trenton and Mobley as well. Where he was just there escorting.
But what I did love about this scene was how immediately Elliot was terrified for Angela. Like, he was immediately like, "Oh God, you have to leave right now. Like, this is bad."
I've seen what he can do.
And she gets all paranoid, and she's like, "Oh, have you been listening to us? Do you know what we're talking? Is this?" What I thought was really fascinating, she turns around and accuses Elliot of being untrustworthy. I'm like, Angela, are you forgetting the plot that you had for the first half of this season? Like how deceiving you were being to Elliot. But she's full on went conspiracy, paranoid. Like,
she's like, because I think the thing is, she's still in on the plan, even though the 71 buildings, she's still kind of in on the idea because, she's like, no, why? She goes to Elliot, why you ask me all this information about things? You should know the plans. You should know what's going to happen.
Well, I think to an extent, this is her breaking down, and she has to believe that it's going to achieve what it was supposed to.
Otherwise, it was for nothing. Yeah.
Otherwise, and obviously part of in this particular case, part of what it's going to achieve is erasing all the people that died anyway. So she has to believe that. She's deluding herself into like going down that rabbit hole because it's the only thing that's keeping her. Well, sane is not the word I'd maybe use, but
I do think it's interesting that we're talking about how she's desperate to things to get back to how they were, and yet this episode is full of callbacks to the first season, which is how before things went wrong, how things were. Yeah. It kind of feels like it's trying to justify her worldview at the minute.
And I think it'll do that for a little bit. I think, again, if Elliot does cancel out 5-9, she'll then take that as more evidence of that, yeah. So then we actually go to Tyrell's, and we get this scene where Philip and Mr. Robot and Tyrell are sitting at the table, and Price is like, "Alright, Tyrell, this is a bit of a formality, but I'm here to appoint you as CTO." And I'm like, okay, so he's picking Tyrell, this is interesting. But then immediately, the reason why becomes clear. Now, I don't think this is what Zhang meant when he said you have to appoint a CTO. I think Zhang actually did want him to just transfer over to a new person. Yeah. But Price is making the power play. Price is actually trying to, wrangle it so that he's still the one in charge. He still is powerful. He tells Tyrell, "You're just you're a public figure. You're the face, but that's all you are. I'm the one behind the scenes. I'm the one still calling the shots. I'm still the head of E Corp." He's basically going kind of covert with he's ruling, if you will. He's a secret.
Yes, the man behind the throne.
Yeah. And again, all he's doing is he keeps putting him down. He's forcing his control. He's again reinforcing the idea that Tyrell's a puppet. You're just
There's a moment where Tyrell tries to protest. He says, "E Corp needs me," and Price just laughs at him. Yeah,
he tries to again convince himself and convince Price. No, I am more important. This is why you need me. And Price's response is like, it's not that I'm out of moves. You're just not worth one.
Yeah.
Man, talk about cutting a guy's pride down. Tyrell's just sitting there destroyed.
Price has some incredible lines in this scene.
Oh, it does. Especially when Mr. Robot says he's a leader and he's like, "Oh, so where are your followers?" Like, he's so cutting and cold.
Another one is he goes, world catastrophes like this happen because men like me allow them to.
Yeah, that's of course when he brings up 5'9", because Mr. Robot brings up 5'9". He's like, "Oh, you knew about it the whole time, didn't you? You knew it was happening." He's like, "Of course I did. 5'9", sure."
Didn't know the specifics, but we knew it was happening.
Yeah, he was well aware of it. And what I like about this scene is that as much as most of it's more overtly Tyrell being shot down and being told that he's small and he's a puppet and he doesn't matter, it's happening to Mr. Robot as well. It's like, no, your entire plan, your lone wolf revolution, it was all just let happen by us. And
Mr. Robot says, no, this was my plan. I had the finger on the button. Yeah. I did this. And Price is like, no, you just stumbled onto the plan. You just happened to be the one who did it. But it would have happened either way.
Yeah. So both of them side by side, as much as they're very different, as much as obviously, Tyrell's not sympathetic, both of them here are basically having the same thing happen to them. They're both been told, now all these delusions you've had since the start of the show, they are false. You're in over your head. Again, this idea that us powerful men are controlling everything and you don't have a chance.
It's one of these first times we're really seeing Mr. Robot unsure of himself, question himself. Because up till this point in the show, the first 2.5 seasons, he was extremely confident. He was like, no, this is what we do. This is the plan. He never faltered. You
could almost argue that Tyrell is kind of the more normal, I mean, I say normal loosely here because he's killing people and whatnot, but he's the more normal representation of what Mr. Robot is to Elliot, in that he keeps wanting to believe he's important, and he is more important, and he's strong, and he has all this potential, but he constantly has that self-doubt. We've seen that since the start of the show. He's always nervous that he isn't that important, and he's always trying to prove himself. And it's almost like we're Mr. Robot and Elliot, that actually split that into two, where Elliot's just the one who doesn't think he's important, but Mr. Robot does think he's important without any hesitance.
But I think it's really interesting that now that Mr. Robot's realizing that the reality that, oh no, he isn't as important as he thought. That's kind of driving him closer to Elliot because he's leaving the message. He's trying to help.
Another line from Price that I really liked as well. As he's leaving, he's talking to Mr. Robot and he says, "You can't force an agenda. You have to inspire one." I wonder if Robot will take that to heart and maybe enlist that. But so that is that scene, and that takes us on to Dom's place. Darlene's back with Dom at her place. There's a nice little quip about how I'll let you in here because you said you weren't into girls. Darlene's like, no, I said I wasn't a lesbian. I never said I wasn't into girls.
Yeah, and then Dom's like, very clever.
Yeah, she sort of like shuts the fridge door like really slowly. She hears that. It's like, okay, this is dangerous territory. And you notice her body language after this. She sort of like, she hands her the beer and she kind of backs away a little bit. She keeps it a little bit of a distance.
Bit nervous.
Yeah, but what I thought was really well done character-wise about this scene is in explaining why Dom falls for this. Because again, we talked about how Darlene's making her feel lonely, and I don't even think Darlene realizes she does this here. But Dom brings up Alexa, right? And she's like, "Oh, watch this!" Like, and it's like the 5'9" report.
I'll be honest, I'd forgot that Dom was just a walking Alexa advert at times.
Right? And she's all impressed with Alexa, and she's like, "Oh, what else can that thing do?" And she gets it to play some music. But if you remember, back in season 2, like one of the early scenes we had of Dom was that she used Alexa to help her masturbate at one point.
Yeah.
Which, is like she's actually, like, Darlene's there in an intimate moment with her as she's been reminded of her loneliness, like her actual loneliness and what she does when she's alone and feels that way. So, because I think, like, one might criticize Dom for falling for this, but I feel like, no, like, I think the scene actually does enough to show why she feels vulnerable.
Constantly been telling us how she's lonely. Since we had that stuff in season 2. We even had her tell Darlene, last time they had the moment before here where they were off on their own. Now we had that there where she talked about how she is kind of lonely. She talked about how she is single. She doesn't really have a social life. She hasn't got any friends.
And we know Darlene's good intentions, and so we can't like hate her for it. We understand why she's doing it, but
it's still sleazy.
Yeah, you feel sympathy for Dom. You feel like she's being exploited here.
Yeah.
But of course, what I thought was really interesting is when Darlene goes in for the kiss. Really interesting thing I thought was happening with the camera is it's all one shot at this point. And it starts on a 2 shot, it's all handheld, and then it goes over to Darlene for a moment, and then it goes back to the pair of them. And it's right as Darlene's kind of like telling the biggest lie that it goes to her side, and kind of like it has her on her own with just the empty space behind her, and then it goes back to Dom in frame. It's kind of like it goes to her as she thinks of her or the right thing to
Yeah.
say, and then goes back over. I thought that was a really nice little touch. But of course, Dom puts her badge that Angela, oh no, Angela, sorry, Darlene wants to grab,
Yeah.
and she's like, oh crap, but she still goes through with it. She's like, okay, well I can't back out now, and obviously she knows she can maybe get a chance at it later.
Yeah.
So
Hey, it would just look really suspicious as well
Yeah.
if she just backed away as soon as that happened.
yeah, I like how she deflated the fact she was watching with her. You could have kept the gun on, like she was
Yeah.
being kinky.
Yeah.
Um,
Part of me wonders if Darlene was just like, well, I want to do this anyway. This could be fun.
maybe, yeah. I mean,
Never know.
she's been lonely, since
Exactly.
Cisco.
Like we've kind of seen that as well.
Yeah.
She could do with a distraction.
So, we actually cut to Angela after this, who I actually remember how last week we were saying it was she in a new place, and the reason why I was so confused, and we see it more clearly this time, is she's painted all the walls black.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
it looks different. She also has photos.
My first note on this, it just says Angela and the 100,000 locks.
She has a lot of locks. That's right. I mean, we noticed them last week, but yeah, this time you
we
actually
had
see her.
a scene of her just doing them all up. It's like, oh my god, there's so many.
Yeah, I feel like if someone really wants to get in, they're going to use like a gun or an explosive, and the locks aren't going to do shit. They're just going to break through the door anyway.
Yeah, but she's paranoid, so
She is paranoid. But there's also photos all over the walls, presumably family photos. You can't actually tell though, because all of them have like coloured squares over all the faces, so you can't see who they are.
Do you know what? I was wondering what if they were, because there's so many.
Oh, the people that died in the buildings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
okay.
was
Yeah,
thinking.
that makes a lot of sense. I think that's right. She's
Like,
got them
I
all
mean,
over her walls.
maybe not. I assume a lot of the names will have been public information at
Yeah.
this point, like for memorials and things like that. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is it. Like, this idea of look at all these people, they're going to come back, sort of thing.
Yeah, she's got photos of her like memorial website and printed them all out, and she's
Yeah.
but she's covered all their faces.
Yeah,
It's like she
'cause
wanted the
can't
photos, but
bear
then,
looking at them.
yeah, and she couldn't bear to look at them. Yeah, really, yeah, obviously really erratic. You see the place is a mess. There's like food lying everywhere, dishes everywhere. So basically, any of our places at any given week. But but we saw that Angela before was a very well kept person.
Yes, this place was immaculate last
Yeah.
time. When this news broke and Darlene was over there, this place was immaculate.
Yeah. So here's where things get mighty interesting.
Mm.
Angela starts talking to someone.
See, this is what I like. I went back and forth on this. At first, I was like, she's talking to someone. And I was like, no, she's just talking to the fish.
Well, that's the thing. At the end of the scene, it reveals the fish in the tank, and you
Yeah.
think, "Oh, it's just been the fish." But that
But then
said,
it
though,
happens again later.
yeah, the thing she was saying though felt really. And there's a moment where she picks up a photo of her mother in this scene, and it's like, now maybe this is too easy and obvious, but is it implying that she's seeing her mother like the same way that Elliot sees Mr.
Yeah,
Robot?
exactly. I'm wondering if she's got something going as well.
Now, they'll have to sell me on that, like, because it's a bit of a coincidence. I mean, admittedly, we've talked a lot about how they had the same past, how they've had the same kind of driving
Yeah,
force.
I think if it does happen, like it'll tell me, no, it's not a coincidence. Something. This
Sure,
is part
yeah.
of some sort of plan. Like this is some side effect of what happened.
Is this because both their parents had the same radiation or whatever, and like they both get affected by it?
Could be. It would also play in, we were theorizing maybe Mr. Robot is actually some sort of real entity from another, timeline, other world.
Oh yeah, sure.
It would lean me more towards that aspect. If Angela has one as well with her mother, I'd be like, okay, no, this seems more real than just coincidence. Alternatively, just to negate my own point immediately with a counter, is she's projecting it because she knows about what Elliot's situation is. So when she breaks, she kind of takes on that because it's what she's familiar with.
Either way, I do think it makes me go back to the scene, the flashback we had where she was a little girl and she talks to Elliot's dad before she goes over to her mother and she has a scene with her. And I can't help but think of that now and feel like that's almost like choreographing it a little bit, where it's like, oh, here she is with Elliot's dad, and then because I think before that scene we never really. We've maybe seen pictures of her mother, but we never really had like a proper introduction to her as a character. No. And I think that scene did that, and I wonder if it's because later we're going to see her.
So when she pops up, we're like, oh, that's who that is. We just know.
Yeah. So I just wonder, just the idea of again that we see her with Elliot's dad first, who Like,
Yeah.
you know, he's the one that we already always see like that, but now we're introduced to this other person who we might see like that. So it just makes sense to me in that sense. But yeah, so she's like, oh, I have to warn her. She has to know what they heard. So she's talking about White Rose, and because she even says, "Oh, I'll go back to the subway. She'll find me in the subway like before, and it'll all be fine." Again, totally crazy. Like, she'd have to be watched. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
My final note on this scene is just she's cracked. She's just cracked.
she was broken before, but now she's in pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it ends with you see her pick up the photo of the mother, and then it ends with the fish, and that's where you go, oh, was she just talking to the fish? I mean, obviously she sounded like it was more like a person,
But she's so crazy right now.
Yeah.
That I can buy that she could be talking to a fish.
you could buy it. So then we cut to Elliot. He's meeting. Leon's taking him to the Dark Army. He's meeting with Grant, who's like the head honcho. I mean, I actually learned his name for this episode because I feel like he's been elevated now.
In my notes, I did say he is just referred to as henchman number one, because my note says Elliot meeting ... because obviously, you know, it hides it for a moment who it's going to be, and then just put henchman number one.
Yeah, but of course we've seen him tons of times. He was at the farmhouse with Tyrell. He was with Mobley and Trenton.
Yeah, and he's the one been running this operation.
Yeah, he's been around forever, but like he's always just been the silent, well, mostly silent kind of guy who shows up and does the thing. Whereas obviously this episode makes him a bit more of a character, I think. But anyway, so Elliot's meeting with Grant. He's like, yeah, we got stage 3. I had phase 3 written down, and you made me have to think about what to say. Anyway, so he's like, oh yeah, basically the whole thing is, oh, so E-Coin's a thing. E-Coin wasn't there when we first had our plan. Let's go after that. Let's destroy it. That's what White Rose wanted, you know. And he also tries to insist that he wants to see White Rose, and Grant's just like, no, all the time you've ever spent with White Rose is all you're ever going to have. Which is what she said in the scene. Way back in season 1, she said, you'll never see me again. Well, that was something she said. Now, I could see it happening, but it'll happen against her will. It'll happen because he affects things and changes things. But up until now, they are maintaining that is the case, that he is never going to see White Rose again. So, really cool. Now, obviously, I actually got in the scene what was really going on, that he was stalling for time. He just wanted them to put their USB stick thingy in his laptop.
He kept looking over at it. It was really clear.
And I'm
but
like,
again,
oh.
that comes up later.
Yeah, but he's like, no, he's just stalling. He's got a plan. Whatever his plan is, he's going to try and hack the Dark Army, which seems insane because they are like this force of hackers. Like, so. But I'm like, okay, Elliot's going big. He's going big, or he's going home. That is what's happening here. Yeah, so that was basically the whole scene. And now we see Angela again. She's in the street. She's going towards the subway.
She's got a trolley full of stuff and a fish.
And her fish, her fish is there. Which again, like I said earlier on, she looked kind of like a homeless person. She really looked like a homeless person in this scene with the trolley. And there's a guy who looks a lot like Cisco selling CDs in the street corner. He's like, swipe me 5 E-coins and I'll...
Yeah, for my CD. She's like, oh no, I'm not falling for that again.
It's like, I'm not going to buy your CD this time. And I'm like, oh man, this is... this was another thing at the start when you said there was a lot of season 1 things. This was the thing I specifically thought of from later.
I've still got at least another big one still to come past this.
Oh, no, I mean, there's a ton. We've pointed out several at this point.
But like another big one.
Yeah, but this was the main one I thought of post... whatever the first one was. I've forgotten now. It was like 40 minutes ago.
All safe, I think.
All safe, that was it. So... Yeah, so this van pulls up, and these men get out, and it's like, oh, Miss Mosh, you have to come with us. And she's like, I'm ready. And
No.
Oh.
We're ready.
Oh, we're ready. You're right.
Which is much more interesting. We're ready. Yes, going back to is she seeing someone? Is she split? That would certainly imply that possibly. I like the idea that she never had this before because she never got to this breaking point like Elliot did when he was younger. But all this has kind of been her... Pushed her over the edge, yeah.
That's just been her push out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
So... But of course, I'm thinking, yeah, these guys don't look like Dark Army. My guess right now, this is Philip Price that's got his men after her.
I'd agree with that.
But based on the flashback, based on the fact that he cares about her, we know that he was pissed when Zhang implied that he'd manipulated her. I feel like that's who this is coming to get her right now.
Yeah, I think if it was Dark Army, they wouldn't take her in at this point. They don't need her. They'd just kill her just to hurt Price more, because why not?
Yeah, so I think this is price grabbing her. I could be wrong. Maybe it'll be something else that'll swerve me, but I feel like that's the best guess.
Yeah.
Right now. Back to Dom's. I actually have one thing written down here. Darlene hacks safe, or not hacks, just presses. She heard she saw the code earlier, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She goes into safe and is caught. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the entire scene, which is fine. It works really well. I like that you don't see Dom until like you hear her, and then she's over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Really simple.
She's just there, isn't she?
Back to Tyrell's. So Tyrell is with Mr. Robot still. Price has already left, and he's basically just finally agreeing that he is a puppet. He's like, "You're right. They control everything. Everything that happens because they wanted it to. White Rose, and Price, and people like that." And Mr. Robot's like, "Hey, this is an opportunity. You take this position. You keep your head down. You do what they want, and we look for the weakness. We exploit from within." This can be a gold mine. You having this new position, he's already planning. He's already forming ideas.
It's okay, no, you're the figurehead right now, but when we really need you to, you can rebel. You can do the right thing. You could, we know how big E-Corp is, and that gives them, just income at their disposal, just resources that they didn't have before.
Yeah, and of course, just one final note here. This is where Mr. Robot learns that the FBI is compromised, because Tyrell mentions they've got someone in the FBI, hence the message. Because Elliot does question that multiple times, and he's like, how does he know? How does he know that the FBI is compromised? But so we see how, and it makes sense because we know Tyrell knows. That's been a whole thing with Santiago. So speaking of going to the FBI,
that was a nice segue, wasn't it?
It was a nice segue, and Darlene's now in the interview room, and Dom's grilling her. Santiago's there. It's like, hey, why did you do this? Why did you break in? Why did you trick me? So on and so forth. Of course, it's only in the middle of the scene where she finally, like, Santiago's like, so why was she there? It's like, oh yeah, it's full disclosure. I slept with her tonight. I'll put a report in.
Yeah, she's like, I was gonna, report myself in the morning anyway.
Yeah. God damn it, Dom. Stop being such a goody two-shoes.
I know.
But some really interesting points here. They're trying to convince her to like sort of fess up and talk to them, and Darlene makes a very good point, which I think really catches Dom's attention. She says, every time I tell you anything, one of my friends ends up dead.
Yeah. And
I feel like Dom has to be like, she's right. That does keep happening. Yeah. That is kind of suspicious. And she actually, gets to the point, like, the FBI is clearly in bed with the Dark Army. She doesn't necessarily say, anything specific. She doesn't know anything specific, really.
She doesn't accuse anyone in particular, but she just says, no. They're clearly someone. Because
she has third-hand knowledge. Tyrell told Mr. Robot, Mr. Robot told Elliot, and then Elliot told Darlene. This is very, it's not like exactly the best information in the world. She just knows the broad stroke. But of course, Santiago...
it makes sense as well.
And Santiago obviously is getting really sort of twitchy, and he's kind of like, oh, don't be ridiculous. But Dom's just sitting there quietly. She's like sort of taking it in, like...
She's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. Now, here's where I had a thought. I wonder if this is a bit of a ruse. I actually think there's a chance that when Dom caught Darlene, that there was
she explained everything. Yeah,
there's more after that we didn't see.
Haven't seen, yeah.
And I
did consider that as well.
Yeah, and I think that maybe this is all a ruse to sort of see if it's Santiago. Like maybe like what if Darlene explains, oh, there's someone in the FBI. I wanted to just come to you and tell you this and like work this through, but there's someone in the FBI working for the Dark Army, and I wasn't sure like who it was. And I wonder if they concocted this plan, like if this is all just a ruse. Like she's going to bring up all this information because she actually brings up Romero's keys. Like, oh, this is what we wanted. This is why I wanted to come in. We need that to reverse the hack, the 5-9. And next, it cuts to Dom and Santiago's also like, oh, we can do this. Like we can reverse all this.
Just on the idea of it being a ruse or not.
Yeah.
I think if it is a ruse, Dom is a great actor. Because she's sitting there going like she's learning this information for the first time, saying, "Oh, but what if the Dark Army owns the FBI?" She's there looking like she's digesting it, and I'm not even sure Santiago ever even looks at her and sees if she's putting it together.
I actually think he's avoiding it because he doesn't want to look her in the eye as this has
Yeah,
been
just in
talked about.
case.
Because
Yeah.
when it cuts to in their office and she's like, "Oh, we can do this. We can unhack it." And he's like, "No, this is bullshit." And he keeps bringing up excuses. He's like, "Oh no, she's a bad informant. She how do we know this is even accurate? This is bad, 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 bad." It's like, and Dom was basically like, "Yeah, but what's the harm in trying? Like, what bad's going to happen if we?"
One of my notes here is Santiago is effed. She's got him now.
He is. Because this was actually the scene more than anything that convinced me that this might be a ruse, that she was specifically asking these questions to see how he would shoot them down.
See, even though if it's not a ruse, it still plays because she still had that information just before, so she could still be going, "You're taking this you're covering this up." Like, I buy that she could put it together from just that still in that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But part of me wonders if they are actually still kind of working together, and I wonder if there'll be a scene early next episode where Dom walks into that interrogation room and is like, "You're right, I think it's him," or like something like that. We just get that. Like, interesting idea though. So yes. So he phones Irvin and tells him about Darlene, and it's in the holding cell, and Irvin's just kind of quiet, and I'm like, "Oh god, Darlene's in trouble. Yeah. Irvin's coming for her."
Yeah, just something that was on the TV in the background, because I like pointing out these news headlines when I see them, because sometimes I feel like they hint at some of the future events. It mentions there is a US cyber attack on Iran is imminent.
Right, that could maybe that could be a big thing next episode.
And obviously we even if it's not next episode, maybe next season, we know White Rose was it's like, okay, let's make Iran the enemies here
with F Society.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, is she trying to start a war? Is she trying to push some of them into chaos?
Maybe. Interesting you say that, because that segues us nicely to White Rose herself. And one of the elements of this scene is that Grant is trying to convince her that, because she's pissed, she's angry, she's throwing things at the wall, she's like screaming and hollering because she need to move their operation and they can't travel because all the chaos that's happened because of the 71 attack. They can't actually go anywhere. It's causing all these problems, all this red tape. And Grant's like, "Well, this is kind of your fault. You went through that attack when you didn't need to, and this is the result of it." And it makes, I just think it's funny that we're saying, "Oh, does she want a war? Does she want chaos?" I'm like, well, it seems to be not doing well for her here at the very least.
And do you know what? This is something that one of the most interesting scenes with White Rose yet.
Oh, I agree.
It tells me, because up till this point, she seemed very cold, calculating. Everything's been exact, and
well, up until this point, I never got the impression that White Rose and Zhang could possibly be split personalities. Up until now, it didn't feel that way. Whereas here, watching White Rose, I'm like, this feels like a completely different person this time.
Yeah, and like she's just she's working on passion, not on a plan. But she even talks about like getting back at Price. The bombings in general were a personal attack.
Well, they were, but even with Zhang, it kind of was. It was just more kind of calm and collected. It was more, "Oh, I need to slap his hand."
But with Zhang, it was just because it felt like, "Oh no, just because I can." Whereas with White Rose, it felt like, "No, I wanted to do this. I needed to."
But here's the most interesting part. I thought that this little segment of the scene is when she's justifying the attack. She says, "Oh, force and power is the only currency that works with these men," and that's the thing that really stuck out to me. I'm like, is she kind of including Zhang in that phrase?
It felt like it, didn't it?
Yeah, like these men, including Zhang, like her other personality is one of these awful powerful men that she wants to take down. I thought that was interesting.
And then what we can't overlook here is Grant has to know, right? Because we've seen him report to Zhang before.
Oh yeah, I think absolutely he knows.
So he has to know that this is the same person, but clearly he treats them very differently. It makes two separate people.
It makes me wonder if this is actually a lot more like Elliot and Mr. Robot. The difference being that she, like, at least she's so aware of it, she actually dresses differently. She becomes this other person. It's not just like an in your head thing. Like, she completely changes. Like, I can see that being a thing now. Also, can I point out how fantastic the surreal music was in this scene? There's
the glasses.
Yeah, there's a woman in the background just playing, the sort of harmonics with the glasses, with the rims.
Yeah.
It was,
closes out the episode. It just plays over the credits. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it plays for so much of this, and it's so surreal and dreamy, and it has this thing like almost like we're in an alternate reality because of this music. Like, it feels that way, like we're in a dreamland or something like that, where we're where something isn't quite right.
Yeah, definitely.
It has that feeling the entire time. And I think it's interesting, this is the first time I've cut to White Rose in this way, where it's just kind of like her reacting to what's going on. Where, you know, before it's always been when someone's met her or something like that.
Or part of a plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just a reaction to things going wrong.
Yeah. Like I say, she's pissed. She's throwing things at the wall. But no, so I think the big thing for me, though, was that these men comment, and what does that mean for her being a completely different personality? Is this like when Mr. Robot and Elliot are at odds, where Elliot's trying to stop Mr. Robot or vice versa? It kind of feels like that from this scene.
It does, but they both still have the same goal, because they both want to move this machine to the Congo. We know that.
They do both want that, but I wonder if it's for different reasons.
Could be, yeah.
You know, based on this anger, but I don't know. Is Zhang the creation so that she has like a powerful figure to compete with these other powerful men? That she, like, you know, it's like an inside man almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that's how you could read it, but I thought that was a very interesting thing. It starts a cut between them and Elliot. Elliot's like, oh, starting stage 3. But of course he's like, yeah, you knew all along. There was no really a stage 3.
And that's the other big callback to season 1. It's you knew all along.
Okay, yeah, it's not as big.
No. But he's never. I don't think he said that line again in the same way. But obviously that was the big moment in season 1. As you knew all along, didn't you? And this he kind of, because he says the same thing here. It's like, I'm sure you knew all along.
It's not the exact same phrase though.
It's not the exact same, but it felt really reminiscent of it to me.
This is as big as any other reference to season 1 in this episode.
Do you know? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that one as a reference.
Okay, it really felt like it to me, but whatever.
But yeah, so Grant's so White Rose about also how would you handle Elliot now? And he's like, oh, you always told me about how he was important, how he would die for us like his father. I think it's time he died. Grant wants to kill Elliot. And what I thought was really interesting here, though, is the cuts between this and the Elliot stuff, is that it literally cut from Elliot saying, now I own the Dark Army, because he's hacked in, he's got them by the balls, he's got their system, and you see all the red dots on the world map, he's got all the locations, everything, and he's like, now I own the Dark Army, and it cuts directly to him, to Grant saying, I think it's time we
he
kill
died
him.
for us too.
Yeah, he died for us too. So I think it's interesting, again, going back to this idea that he keeps spinning over his head, that next episode they're going to try and murder him because of what he might be doing. They don't even know exactly what he's doing yet. Like they expect he's doing something because he thinks they're targeting the Dark Army, but he's not really sure what.
Yeah, White Rose just says, do what you think is right.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that she's kind of going, all right, fine. Maybe my judgment is flawed when it comes to this. You do what you think.
Is it interesting, perhaps, that that's happening the same time that Mr. Robot's also maybe accepting that he was wrong about some things?
Quite possibly, and I think it's interesting as well. You just skipped over it there, but we actually get Mr. Robot going and writing the message on the mirror. He realizes Elliot's coming back.
Yeah.
He can feel it, and so he rushes to the mirror. It's like, no, I've got to do this. I think it's fascinating that because he's sat at the computer when he feels this. He doesn't just open up, Notepad and write a message on there that Elliot will read. He goes to the mirror and makes a big show of it. It's this act of desperation. It's like, no, you've got to listen to this.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And of course we end the episode. Now it was kind of like, honestly, as soon as the scene with White Rose started and she was really angry and he was trying to calm her down, I was getting like this weird married couple vibe off of it in a weird way.
Yeah.
But as the scene goes on, it keeps getting closer to her and closer, and I was like, okay, they're going to kiss, aren't they? And it ends with that. After, like, okay, it's time for him to die too. Alien's in and kisses her, and we end with that, and it cut. The weird music keeps playing over the credits. Very eerie, very kind of ominous.
Surreal is the word.
Yeah, I said that already. Though. I was looking for other words.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said surreal like 3 times the first time I brought it up.
Did you say ethereal?
I might not have used ethereal. There you go.
Well, we'll have that one then.
Yeah, but I was just going for different words. I was trying to be different in my language. So, no, strong moment. Again, very interesting. Like, does he kiss Zhang as well? Is it just White Rose? Is this kind of like how Angela worked with Mr. Robot for a bit, but not Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it is showing that they're 2 different personalities, because we've seen how he is around Zhang all the time. He always keeps his distance. He's very cold. He barely says anything. He's definitely not really that open with him. He's a little bit, he pushes the limits at times where he's like, no, I think I should be in charge. But he always backs down. He always kind of goes, okay, whatever you say. I'll do what I'm told.
I almost wonder, like, is White Rose the one he can manipulate? Is White Rose the emotional one where he can be like, you know, he can talk her into letting him do something, whereas Zhang, it's like, no, he's stern, he won't back down for anything. But White Rose, I can charm and I can
quite possibly
seduce, essentially.
Like I say, Zhang feels like, oh no, he's in it for the business, the money, you know, the power, like all the other corporations and stuff. Whereas White Rose, it feels more personal than that.
Yes. Which makes me wonder what our goal really is. Like, again, we don't really know what the machine is yet, but what is the goal?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. They've thrown us so much. You know, start of the season, it was like we're full onto this time travel and alternate reality idea, and they've kind of like convinced us that I know it's more thematic and it's not really what's going on.
But there's something. There is. We've saw this building, this machine.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Here's why that works so well. This idea that for the first half of the season, we were kind of not necessarily believing it was definitely going to happen, but we were believing that this was.
You want to believe, a bit like Angela.
Yeah, it mirrors Angela's beliefs, where for the first half of the season, you're on her side, kind of, in a weird kind of like, oh yeah, like, let's believe in the crazy stuff because that's what Angela wants to believe. And then when it comes crashing down, now we're kind of like, oh, maybe none of it is real and she's just crazy.
You see the delusion.
Yeah. So it kind of, it's really effective in that sense of making us see like how she can be caught up in it, and then once it comes crashing down, like how
I think I do think so. I know there's a lot of people out there who have always been against the idea, really strongly against the idea of any sort of sci-fi elements being introduced. I wonder if some of the, you know, we're talking about how this makes us feel like Angela in that sense. I wonder, you know, that must be lost on those people to some extent.
Maybe, yeah.
It must be a completely different experience to how we feel about that.
Yeah, they're just relieved. Whereas we're like, oh, that mirrored how she went up and down perfectly, so we were really into that.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if that maybe we enjoyed season 3 as a whole more than those people did. Or maybe it didn't make as much of an effect as we think it did. Maybe they just read it a different way, and it worked that in that sense. Because maybe from their point of view, like, it was always delusional, so it just kind of affirmed their thoughts once it kind of went through. And to be fair, we never thought it was actually going to happen. We were always strictly 50-50.
But it was almost a it was a want though, wasn't it? Kind of want.
Yeah, we always had fun kind of speculating about it because we had fun with the possibilities, whereas some people just hated the possibilities because they were so worried that the show was going to go some down weird sci-fi route. And as someone who loves when shows go down weird sci-fi routes, so I'm like, nah, give me it.
Do it, yeah. And I'm still not like 100% convinced it's not. Like,
oh, sure.
I don't, again, because like I said, we know there is physically something there.
There's a machine. She's doing something. There's something weird going on.
Just have no idea what.
But no. What's funny is after all this, obviously very enjoyable, very good. It's probably the weakest episode in about 5 episodes, just because the last 4 have been like 4 of the best.
This is probably the weakest since the Tyrell episode.
And it's not saying this is weak. It's not. It's actually a strong, solid episode of Mr. Robot. It's just that it's coming after one of the best, like, 4 or 5 episode runs of the entire show. Yeah.
And it feels as well like, okay, next one's the last episode of the season, so it's kind of like, okay, here's a breather before we give you the big one.
Yeah, and what's great is those last 4 or 5 episodes were all fantastic for really different reasons. They were all unique and did something on their own. Like, last episode was a very slower, emotional, focused episode, as opposed to like the big one-shot wonder episode.
Yeah, which it makes them really hard to compare and say what was better, because they're all doing very different things. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing masterfully.
Yeah. Whereas this one was just a sort of normal Mr. Robot episode where it was setting up all these different things, had some great moments, had some great character beats.
But normal Mr. Robot episode is still above 90% of all the other TV in existence.
I'll say it on right now. I don't know if it, in existence seems a bit...
Nah.
Bit of a stretch. Okay. All right.
90%. There's a lot of TV out there. That's still a fair boundary.
Okay, sure. If you're including, like, Storage Hunters and Discovery and shit like that, sure.
I said on TV.
Alright, fine, yeah, if we're including reality TV shows and everything else, then sure, yeah, 90% easy. Absolutely. I was comparing it just to scripted drama, but fine. Anyway, that's Mr. Robot episode 9. We get the finale next week, season finale. I'm depressed that it's going to be over, but it's been a hell of a ride, and I look forward to seeing what crazy thing they're going to leave us on for the end of the season. And remember, of course, that there'll be a post-credit scene, most likely, at the end of the finale.
Yes.
Worth sticking around for. So, With that said, let us know what you thought of this week's Mr. Robot in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel update. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can do that over there. There'll be links to that in the description in the corner of the video, as well as other useful links in the description. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?